Okay, let's get right into it. A massive change is coming for literally hundreds of millions of computer users out there. Microsoft is pulling the plug on support for its most popular operating system, Windows 10. And yeah, the clock is officially ticking. October 14th, 2025. That's the day the free ride ends. After that, your PC might still run, but without updates, it becomes a sitting duck for security threats. So, what does this really mean for you? Is your computer about to become digital scrap? Or is there a smarter way out of this mess?
Okay, let's get right into it. A massive change is coming for literally hundreds of millions of computers users out there. Microsoft is pulling the plug on support for its most popular operating system, Windows 10. And yeah, the clock is officially ticking. Look, this isn't just some tech news headline. This could directly affect the very computer you're using to watch this. So the big question is, what exactly does this mean for you, and are you actually ready for what's coming next?
You're going to want to circle this date on your calendar, October 14th, 2025. That's the day the free ride ends. Microsoft is stopping all the standard free software updates, security fixes, and technical support for Windows 10. Now, your computer will still turn on, it'll still work, but it's going to become a sitting duck for viruses and security threats.
So, to make sense of all this, here's our game plan. We'll start with just how huge this problem is, then dig into the upgrade dilemma so many people are facing, take a look at the shocking environmental cost, cover the consumer pushback, and then, finally, we'll lay out your options. All right, first up, let's try to get our heads around just how big of a deal this really is. We are not talking about a small niche group of users here. This is basically a global digital migration. 400 million. That's the number at the very heart of this story. An estimated 400 million PCs all over the world are running Windows 10 but simply cannot upgrade to Windows 11. And why is that? Well, it's because their hardware, which might be working perfectly fine, just doesn't meet Microsoft's new, much stricter requirements. And that really brings us to the core of the problem for so many people. This whole upgrade dilemma. What is actually stopping these perfectly good computers from getting with the times? So here's the fundamental conflict. On one side, you've got millions of PCs that are working just great for everything you need, email, browsing, you name it. But on the other side, you have Windows 11, which demands very specific modern hardware for what Microsoft calls heightened security. The result? It's basically forced obsolescence for machines that are otherwise totally fine. The main gatekeeper, the thing causing all the trouble, is a little something called the TPM 2.0 chip. Think of it as a dedicated security guard, a microchip built to handle hardware-based security. Now, that's great for keeping you safe, but it wasn't a standard part in most computers until pretty recently, making it the single biggest reason millions of people are locked out of the upgrade. And it's not just that TPM chip. Oh no! Windows 11 also needs modern firmware like UEFI with secure boot, a graphics card that can handle DirectX 12, and get this, it even requires an internet connection and a Microsoft account just to finish setting up the Home Edition. Any one of these can be a total deal breaker. Now, this isn't just a headache for you and me. It's snowballing into a global crisis. The consequences of making 400 million PCs obsolete go way, way beyond our own desks. To put this into perspective, if every single one of those 400 million PCs gets thrown out, it could generate over 700 million kilograms of e-waste. That is a literal mountain of discarded electronics, full of both valuable materials and toxic stuff, created just because of a software policy. Consumer advocacy groups actually have a name for this: software-induced obsolescence. And this quote from Euroconsumers just hits the nail on the head. They argue that forcing people to throw away perfectly good hardware just for a software update, well, it completely goes against the idea of building a sustainable and user-friendly digital world. So, here's the bottom line. The most eco-friendly computer is the one you already own. Seriously, keeping a device running for longer is one of the best things you can do for the environment, because most of its carbon footprint comes from actually making the thing, not from you using it. But this whole situation hasn't gone unnoticed. In fact, there's a pretty big, organized pushback from consumer rights groups, and they're starting to question if this whole digital deadline is even legal or fair. Leading the charge is Euroconsumers. They're this powerful coalition of consumer groups that represent over 6 million people. And they've taken the fight straight to Microsoft's doorstep, demanding the company changes its policy.
The legal challenge basically boils down to three key things. First, they say it violates Europe's Digital Content Directive because Microsoft isn't keeping the product functional and secure. Second, they claim it breaks the Digital Markets Act because Microsoft is a gatekeeper using its power to limit your choice. And third, and this one is a real kicker, they point out that since Microsoft is offering to sell you security updates, they obviously can support Windows 10. They're just choosing not to do it for free.
So when you strip it all the way, the argument is pretty simple. This policy isn't really just about software. It's about pushing consumers to buy new hardware, which hurts the market for refurbished PCs. And at the end of the day, it takes away our right to choose.
Okay, so that's the big picture. Now let's bring it back home. If you're one of the 400 million people with an older PC, what on earth should you do? Well, you've basically got three main paths you can go down.
Here's the quick and dirty breakdown. You can buy a new PC. That's the easiest path, but also the most expensive. You can pay for extended updates, which is cheap, but it's really just a temporary fix. Or you can switch to a whole new operating system, which is free, but does take a little more effort. So let's look at that first path a little closer. You can, of course, just go buy a new computer, or you can sign up for Microsoft's Extended Security Update Program, the ESU. That gets you 1 more year of security patches. You might even get it for free if you sync your settings with Windows Backup. Otherwise, it's a small fee. It's kind of like a Band-Aid, but hey, it buys you some time.
Path number 2 is for anyone who's ready for a real change. You can totally ditch Windows and install a free operating system instead. The two most popular choices are Linux, especially a user-friendly version like Ubuntu, and Google's Chrome OS Flex. Linux gives you amazing control and privacy, while Chrome OS Flex is super light and fast. Perfect if you basically live in a web browser anyway.
So why are so many people suddenly talking about Linux? Well, for starters, it's completely free forever. It's built with privacy in mind, so no ads or spyware. It can breathe new life into older hardware. It gives you total control over everything, and it's backed by this massive, passionate global community. It's a really powerful way to keep your perfectly good computer alive, secure, and running great for years to come.
At the end of the day, what you do with your PC is totally your call. But this whole mess forces us all to ask a much bigger question. In an age where we're all trying to be more sustainable, should we really accept a future where one company's software decision can make millions of perfectly good devices obsolete overnight? That's something we're all going to have to think about.
So, at the end of the day, what you do with your PC is your call. But this whole mess forces us to ask a much bigger question. In an age where we're all trying to be more sustainable, should we really accept a future where one company's software decision could make millions of perfectly good devices obsolete overnight? That's something we're all going to have to think about.